Our weekly Rants and Raves, starting with Dan Kennedy.
I have a rant for the U.S. Department of Justice, which sought and obtained, so I suppose I should rant about the court too, a search warrant to be given to DreamHost, which is a hosting service for many, many websites. The Justice Department wants to get a look at all of DreamHost's records for people who looked at a particular website called disruptj20.org, which was providing information to anti-Trump protesters around the time of the inauguration. Now, something like 1.3 million users accessed this website just within the first 6 days after the inauguration. And the Justice Department is trying to get this...
Why?
Because there was some vandalism. They're trying to build a criminal case against people who did break windows and do things like this. But this is so overbroad.
Yeah, really.
It's just intimidating to anybody.
What happened to eyewitnesses?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So a rant for the Department of Justice.
All right. Joanna.
So I have a rave for Nestor Ramos of the Boston Globe, who did a commentary today that scratched at one of the really interesting issues that's underlying this whole Charlottesville race conversation we're having, which is the online, the identification of people who are involved in this kind of activity. It was about a guy from Boston who was pictured. He's the guy in the mustache in that picture that was one of the, the most famous pictures of the Tiki Torch rally in Charlottesville. He, Nestor identifies him, explains why, you lose your anonymity in circumstances like that, but also went into the nuances of what happens when someone's name is out there, when they start getting death threats. The Twitter handle, and this guy had one, has become kind of the modern day equivalent of a robe. I mean, you can hide behind it, and it's a really fascinating topic to get at, when your identity should be revealed, and what do you do to open yourself up to that.
Well, if you're in a public place, as he was, you're susceptible to having your identity revealed. That's just the way it is. If it's a private property, it's another thing. Yeah. All right, good. Callie.
I have a rave for the Toledo Blade. People may note that the Toledo Blade is a newspaper in Ohio, and Charlottesville is in Virginia. And so what happened was a copy editor named Tommy Gallagher was looking at some of the early images that came into them, as most local newspapers would be doing, and stations, trying to, just see how they're going to present it. And lo and behold, they discovered that the license plate of James Fields, who drove through the crowd and killed the young woman, Heather, had an Ohio license plate. He put everybody on it. They came off their weekend. They tracked it down through the vehicle identification number and the license plate. They got to the house of the mother, and they got the only interview, you've seen it, with the mother, which the reporter interviewed. The mother was in a wheelchair. That's the one where she says, I knew he was going to a rally, but I didn't know what he was doing. And then she refused to talk to anybody else after that. So it became a local...
Did she already know that he had been
No,
charged?
she said he was going to a rally.
Alex, I think his name.
No, James, that's the son. Said, I knew he was going to a rally. She said it was something about Trump, but I had no idea what kind of rally it was. She was completely shocked when the reporter very sensitively said, I've never been in a position where I'm presenting this kind of information to this, loved one. And so she presented it to her. The mother reacted. She taped it.
Wow.
And that was it. She wouldn't talk to any other reporter. But my point is, this was a local story for the Toledo Blade, and this took place in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is about shoe leather. This is about knowing your local community. Good for them.
Good for them. Great. Dan.
So I have a broad rave for fact checkers everywhere. They've been working overtime, and so whether it's these websites that are fact checking some of the comments that are being said out there, or within networks and publications, they have their fact checking the departments. They've been there's just so much that's being said from the president on down, and it's so difficult, I think, for the public to really get a handle on what is true and what is false. And it's said with such conviction now from all places, where before we could expect that certain people would tell us the truth. And so I think it's good, when we pick sides, and people who are extreme on both sides, if you present them with the facts, sometimes they'll still believe what they believe. But I think at the end of the day, facts are facts, and I'm glad someone's checking.
Yeah, that is good. I mean, the problem is that not everybody believes we saw that during the campaign. They don't believe the
You
facts.
present them with the facts, but
these
still.
are the facts.
But there have been some studies that said you can present that to people who don't believe the sentiment, and they'll say, "I agree, those are the facts, but still believe my own viewpoint."
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah,
at least
it's very interesting.
But you can't make the argument later that you weren't presented with the facts.
Exactly. That's right.
All right, finally tonight, I have a rave for a former colleague here, John Carroll, who tweeted out an advertisement this week. And here it is. It's an advertisement for a roofing company. But you'll notice in the ad, there's the likenesses. That's Gillette Field, number 87, number 12. So John does some Googling around and says, I wonder if this is the official roofing company of the Patriots. Of course, they don't have any official relationship with the Patriots, but there are companies up and down New England that have formal relationships like Cross Insurance. It's the Cross Pavilion. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of they also sponsor the programs. So we put a call into the Boston Globe about this, since they obviously know what's an official advertisement. They didn't respond to us. We put in a call to the roofers company. They said, call the Boston Globe. Then we called the Patriots, and they said, you know what? Thank you so much for calling this to our attention, and we hope to send a cease and desist order by the end of the day.
Wow.
So John Carroll, as some of you might remember, also has an expertise in advertising, so he has a sharp eye for all this kind of stuff.
This came from his blog. It's great to live in a two newspaper town.
Yeah.
You don't need a new roof, right?
No.